Greetings, our viewer, wherever you're watching us from. This is PrayerCaveTV, and I take this opportunity to welcome you to our wonderful show. This is Being One Show, and we say in Being One Show, we talk about marriages and families. And so I want to take this opportunity and welcome you, and please even share this link with someone else so that they can also benefit from the topic that we are about to discuss this evening. So don't go anywhere. Please take a pen and a paper, be ready to listen, and so that we may be able to build marriages right here and to build even families, because that is the purpose of this show. So welcome, sit back, relax, and learn. And without now taking so much time, allow me to welcome our guests this evening. And by the way, we are talking about stress and depression in marriages, and this is a reality in marriages. So let us learn, and God richly bless you. Karibu sana, Madam Mary. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be invited once again, and I feel humbled. Thank you so much for the consideration to have me again come to Prayer Cave on matters of marriage, and therefore coming with a different thing altogether.
Yes.
For the sake of those who are viewing, my names are Mary Ngige, and I'm born again Christian. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. I'm a trainer, doing much more of the trainings and also counseling on different categories for child, adolescent, and even for marriage and family. I'm currently at Word of Faith Community College, and also doing counseling at Huduma. I said Huduma is offering counseling, and that is telecounseling. You can always call us, and you can use the number 1919, so that we can be able to help you on call.
That is true.
So that's me. I'm a mother of 2 boys, and I'm glad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Karibu tena sana.
Asante.
By the way, the last episode we did, so many people watched.
Yeah.
So many people benefited.
Yep.
And let me mention a few.
Yeah.
Yes, we had someone by the name Jane Seleyan. And thank you so much, Jane, for tuning in. We have Estambito. Thank you, Estambito, for tuning in. We had Jerusa Alango. Yeah? These are familiar names, yeah?
Yeah.
We had Beth Moshiri.
Wow.
We also had Comforta Mwihaki. Yeah, beautiful name there. Then we had Rachel Kiairida. And we also had Joyce Julia and Lucy Jambi. Yes, they tuned in, and I know they're still with us even this evening. Please talk to us on the number on your screen. That is 0710 54 64 54, or even on our Facebook page or even YouTube. Leave a comment right there. Tuambie unatutazama ukiwa wapi, and how are you getting help from this show. Mungu akubariki sana. Madam Mary.
Yeah.
And looking wonderful as always.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We start by, it's all about stress and depression in marriages. And maybe people may not understand the difference between those two. Maybe we start at that point and bring in the difference between stress and depression.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's always good and important to clarify so that even as you get to talking about it, it's quite clear.
Yes.
So talking about stress and depression in marriage, I want to differentiate between stress and depression. When someone is stressed, there's when there's that reaction when there's threat to danger, or when someone is in a state of tension or worried, and there's anxiety.
Yes.
So at that time is when you become stressed. So you're feeling anxious, you're tensed, or rather you're worried about something. So when it comes to depression, that one now it's like it's a serious case, because once you get stressed and you're in depression, so then it means that someone in depression is mentally sick. Is mentally sick, and at that point it may also call for treatment, and that's why it is important to talk about this. So stress is a state of tension and worry, but for depression is a mental illness. At that point it's like you're sick and you need special attention.
Wonderful.
And for counseling we actually work with stress, so that we help people not to get depressed. Because this takes you to this, and by the time you're depressed, you're mentally sick. I
was actually about to ask that question. Can stress lead to depression? That was what I wanted to ask, but you have answered it correctly, and thank you so much. So there is a difference. There is a difference between stress and depression.
There's a big difference. And my prayer is always, even when we are helping people, to work out stress very fast. Because if stress is prolonged or it's not worked upon, someone gets into depression. And like last time when we were talking about loss and grief, you do not know when depression is coming, like for example when you're grieving, and so I want us to be always very keen and very sensitive to work out stress very fast before it matures to something that may need a lot of attention.
All right.
And maybe also I can say about stress, something a little about stress is that stress is normal. We need to know that. And stress is inevitable. There's no time you can say that you're going to avoid being stressed. You will find yourself in stress at some point, and it is also universal. It affects everybody. No one is immune.
True.
Everybody gets stressed up. And now when you're talking about stress in marriage, there are those things that pertains issues of what brings stress in the marriage that we shall be discussing today. But I needed to start by saying stress is normal. It is very inevitable, and it is also pathological. Like if it's not worked upon, it brings bad and serious issues. We've seen people committing suicide. The root cause was about stress. We've seen people getting sick. It started by stress that was never treated. Like what I usually say that for counselors, we treat the mind, but the doctor treats the body. So I usually say that sometimes you don't need to go to the hospital, because if you worked upon yourself, you'll not need to get to the hospital and get even medication. So let us work out stress so that we don't get to depression. As much as we are saying it is universal, it affects everybody, it is inevitable, you cannot avoid it. But one thing I also say is that it is positive, because it can bring change.
You remind me, one time I went to hospital, and they checked everything, and nothing was found. And they tell me, you just need to drink lots of water, and take lots of, rest, and stop stressing yourself, and it worked.
And even I can talk from a point of my personal, rarely will I ever go to a hospital, because issues start from the mind. When the mind is sick, the body becomes sick. We call it psychosomatic. Your mind gets sick, it's stressed up so much. The next thing is that the body gets sick. So by the time you're going to the hospital, it's about now the body. And you see, the doctor will treat the body. So where, like you're saying, I'm feeling this, my head, my back pain. And you know what? The medicines that people are given, let me just talk about this. Some of them are just to help you relax, because sometimes you're told you will sleep, you feel dizzy, and the essence is to relax your mind. So I usually say, if you can be able to take care of yourself and work out stress, you will not get yourself to the hospital. And most of those people, even admitted in hospital, they are sick. It started from stress. So work it out before you get sick. And sometimes even when someone gets sick, I usually I'm able to identify some issues that has not been dealt with. So ukianza kahoma hivi, it's about stress. And before you start taking medication, you need to first of all work on yourself. Deal with it from the mind before it gets to the body, because I usually say it's from the mind, the heart, and then the body gets sick. So you can be able now to do the other way. You can stop it at when it's on the mind, because everything will change from the way we think. Don't allow your body to get sick.
Yeah.
And that's why we are saying stress is from the way you feel, you get tensed,
Yes.
from the mind.
True.
Then it gets to the body, getting sick. So by the time it's in the body, we are calling it depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's us who allow and we can prevent it. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so, having known that stress is normal, and it can, anyone can get it or can find him or herself at that state. What are the reasons or causes that causes stress? And also, we're also going to look at that which causes depression.
Maybe I can first of all also try to differentiate stress, and we'll be getting to talk about much of depression, because we said it started from stress. Then it gets you to depression.
Yes.
And I look at stress or depression in different ways. One is what I call the acute stress.
Okay.
At this point, I usually say these are the normal things that causes stress, like traffic jam, when you're not able to achieve, what you want.
Yeah.
And then we also have eustress.
Okay.
For the eustress, now that one is positive. I usually say it's not all time that stress is negative. Sometimes it is positive, because it makes us grow and even have an aspect of making a decision.
Okay.
And then there is now the acute stress. Now that one, it can be a serious one, and it can call even for treatment.
Okay.
And also the chronic, now that one, it gets to a higher level. By the time you're chronically stressed, it means you even need treatment. So it goes in those levels. And we also need to look at what it does to our lives. So even those in marriage, we need to know what kind of a stress is that.
Yes.
It could be acute, it could be a positive stress, and it can also be chronic, where now it's calling for attention or for treatment. Yes, and there are so many things that causes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can look at the causes of.
For the causes of stress, there are quite many. And as we said, it affects everybody. There are so many of causes that can cause it. I'll talk about causes majorly maybe for someone who is stressed or depressed. One, it's because last time I think we were talking about roles and rules, the other episode.
Yes.
And when I look at marriage, when a marriage doesn't have the rules and the roles, that is one possibility of the marriage suffering stress. Because you don't have directions and you don't know what you need to do at the right time and at what point.
Yes.
Then there is also the aspect of being too busy. Actually, nowadays, everybody is so busy.
Is running.
Actually, people are saying it's like time inakuwa short. So everybody is busy, and in this marriage, you realize that everybody is busy on their own way. Probably it's because of work, parenting, and all of that.
Yeah.
So that is also another cause for people getting so much stressed.
Yes.
You don't have your time, you don't have your partner's time, your children's time to interact.
Yes.
And the other thing I've also observed is the lack of communication. And we said in a relationship, communication is key.
Okay.
So when people are not talking and they're in a relationship, then it means they'll get stressed out because you're not able to air out your emotions, your feelings, and then you get depressed.
True.
So it is the high chance we really need to communicate. Even when it's so difficult to do it, that helps you to ease and reduce the magnitude of stress that can lead to depression. I also look at work-related issues.
Okay.
Work-related issues, and this is the challenge I want us to pose. Like, let us not take our work issues at home. Because now that one makes it worse.
Yes.
You're busy at work and you're having challenges and stress at work, and then you take that at home. That is one thing I've also realized for the marriage. Work issues being taken to the family or the marriage.
True.
So let us learn to separate when to do it and at what point.
That's true.
The other thing I see is about the parenting. Of course, parenting is an assignment. It's not easy. I have seen people having struggles, getting stressed up. And you see, for parenting, it also depends on the age. Probably it's a toddler, an infant, needs to be taken care of. Maybe it's an adolescent or teens. You've seen parents struggle with that.
Yes.
And even an adult, because I usually say once a parent will always be. You have seen parents minding the welfare of their child even when they are big.
True.
So parenting is all through.
Yes.
Once you have that child, you go along with that. And that is another thing I see that stress people.
Yes.
And it's the time that the couples also need to know how to have a way of getting the skills to do effective parenting, so that they're able to do it effectively without bringing a lot of pressure.
That is true.
The other thing I see that causes stress in marriage is sickness and the illnesses that happens maybe within the marriage. Maybe someone getting sick and you're not able to handle. And one thing I usually say is that the one who become more sick is the one who even take care of that one who is sick. So that has caused a lot of commotion, and it has really made people to be emotionally drained. Because when you're stressed up, you're emotionally drained. And again, that is another one, because it makes people to get emotionally tired, because you're not able to know how to place your emotions. When you're happy, you don't know maybe how to express yourself. When you're sad, you don't know what to do about it, or even how to express yourself toward the other person.
Yes.
There are quite many.
Yes.
There is what I call the fear of unknown.
Yeah.
When people are in the marriage, there's that aspect of the fear of unknown.
Yeah.
How is the future going to be? Maybe for us as a couple, how is it going to be for our children? I have seen parents coming to me and asking, and what can I do? Like the other day I was talking to another lady. She's telling me that her girl, who is now a teen, she's not been able to know how to handle her. And you can imagine the uncertainty the parent is having. Am I, actually she was asking herself, am I doing it the right way? And I would even make her understand the stage the child is at is likely to happen that. So there's a lot of fear of unknown. We don't know what the future unfolds for us as married and as a family, but let us always be positive about that. But it is normal to feel that way, where you don't know or you're not so sure about what is going to happen. The other thing I also check is the financial constraints. Hapo kwa pesa. Currently now that has been the major issue. There is a lot of straining where couples and the married people are trying to see the end meets. And it's not been easy. I have seen it even leading marriages to separation and divorce. Probably it's lack of management or maybe insufficient. I've seen one person is working, the other one is not. And if they don't negotiate and discuss it well as a couple in the marriage, it is always bringing issues. So they need to be helped to do the financial management and doing a lot of adjustment. Currently, I'm handling a couple who are not in agreement for the factor of financials. And the issue is that they need to adjust from where they've been. They need to, because like everybody is adjusting from where we are. So I have found that the guy was so stressed, he's even had given himself a break because the lady is not willing to adjust. Maybe the lifestyle they had, she's like, now I don't think I can change that. And it is really straining the man. So he's been wondering, what can I do about this? There are things I need to adjust. Maybe where I take my children to, or maybe where I stay. There are things that he felt he needed to adjust that they were not agreeing. And it is bringing a lot of issues within the marriage. So financial issues, it's one of the urgent issues that people need to be addressing within the marriage, so that we are in agreement or having that consensus of how to deal with it.
That is true. That is true.
Other things are like trauma. The other time you're talking about trauma issues in marriage. That has also been a cause of stress and depression, and people need to negotiate traumas, overcome that, so that now it is not affecting the marriage, either as individual or the couple within the marriage.
That is true.
There's a lot of causes. We can't exhaust them.
True. Basically what you're saying, stress can come from any corner and from any corner, but couples need to get to understand. But there's a question there's something you said, Madam Mary, that there is not all times that stress is bad. There are times when stress is good. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that. Because I'm looking at how do I know that this stress is good for my marriage?
to explain that, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I would also look at a cause of stress or depression would be life transitions. There are things that happen in life that bring change, that can bring stress and even depression. With that, as you're asking, I can give a scenario case and showing how stress can be positive. So that we can be able to work it out positively. Take, for example, a mother who gets a child. The mother is excited, and that is what I also experienced. I'm excited because I got a baby.
Yes.
So, but I'll also be stressed because this child, like, let me give an example. When I got my firstborn child, I was so happy. But when I got home, there's that early time when a child is crying, you can't sleep. Hamwezi lala. So the child would cry, and I remember one time he cried, and it was during the day the father was at work. Do you know, my son cried and I started crying. So it is a good thing, but it is coming with stress. So I was looking at that child and I'm like, Sasa huyu, what can I do, you know? And I would call him and he would come home, come, the baby is not shutting up. So he comes and there's nothing big that you could even do. So it is a good thing that happens, but it comes with stress. Look at someone who retires. These are a couple probably, and the man or the woman retires. It's a good thing and there's celebration, but it also comes with stress. You see, because of now, how is it going to be? Like me, I got a child. How am I going to take care of this child? Look at someone graduating. They are very happy. But the question is, where is
the job?
You see? So we shouldn't always look at stress as a negative thing. There is a positive side in it. So every time that you're stressed up, look at the positivity in it. And the other thing I see is that it brings change. Mind you, by the way, we grow because of stress. Actually, I say, were it not for stress, we would not grow or have that development. So it is the one that makes us to grow and develop. It helps us make decisions, because when you're stressed up and you're depressed about something, there is what you need to do to overcome whatever it is. So it propels you, it makes you make the right decision that you need to. It also helps us to be positioned. It helps us set goals. Mind you, we always need to check our goals. This marriage as individual, there are those goals that we have set. We talked about the fear of unknown, even when you're in the marriage. So when you set goals, you're able to work consciously about that so that you can achieve those goals. So getting stressed, like for example, you get stressed because you have children, you're doing something for the betterment of these children in the future. So let us not always magnify stress. Let us look at it positively, because it's either also helps you to make decisions, it helps you learn lessons, it helps you to be able to do something and things differently. But when we look at it negatively, but then I would talk about the way we think, because when now you're taking it negatively, you will be pushing yourself to get to the depression. But when you look at it positively, you're able to do things and check. I usually say, look at what you have done about it, what you think you can do it, and what is that you have not done you need to do. That way now you're growing and you're developing. But when you look at it negatively, it takes you to the aspect of feeling helpless, hopeless, and you feel this is the end of it. I see like people who are separating or divorcing, at a point where you feel now I can't handle this. It's all about what you're thinking, because you see impossibility and so it happens. There's a lady I know of who was thinking that she has big ears. Nafikiria kona masikio kubwa. And she used to do even her hairstyle, like she's covering the ears. So she started seeing the big ears, and it affected her to a point even she could not do some other things. So one day I told her, your ears are big from your mind. They are not literally big. So what am I saying? Sometimes we see things differently, and so they become. And even we start acting like that, you start, behaving like that, and you become. So you see things in a negative perspective. It's like you're helping yourself it come true. And sometimes we are the one who sabotage ourselves by the way we think. So the challenge I would pose at this point is that let us monitor how you think. We monitor how we think,
Yes.
because you think negatively, you're going to say impossibility.
Wow.
So when you think things are not going to work, they will definitely not work.
That's true.
So I have seen myself walk through tough moments, and it is because of the mindset, the way I think. I'm always very keen. Yeah, so let us think differently about the whole aspect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The way we think, we need to change and start, having positive thoughts concerning situations in our life.
Yeah.
Before we go to a break, can a spouse be a cause of stress?
Can a spouse be a cause of someone else's stress?
Yeah. Now, for a couple, can one of the partner be the cause of stress to the other?
Yeah, it is likely to happen, and especially when you don't know each other.
Okay.
And especially also when there are misunderstandings. I have seen people fight, blame each other, point fingers because of someone thinking you're the cause of their maybe downfalls.
Yes.
This marriage is not working. It is much more of you, you see. And what I have seen is that when someone has not resolved their personal issues that are stressing them, they are likely to project them to the other partner. So this one who thinks this is the person who is causing stress is the one at a higher chance, probably, for causing this. So that's why I was saying the other time, the I positioning. What am I doing about it? What am I thinking about it? Before even I think of that one could be the cause of. It is likely to happen again with the mindset. When you think this person is the cause of these challenges, cause of my stress and downfalls. But when you look at it differently, then you're able to own by yourself and then able to work it out through together.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So hakuna kublamiana.
Hakuna.
Everybody has a position, a role to play. It's all about what are you doing about it, even before you think of looking at it from the other angle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's true. We have been many couples on a blame game, pointing fingers. And I remember you saying when you're pointing to that other person, the other fingers are pointing at who?
You. What are you doing about it? And mind you could be the worst in this case.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us work it through together by tabling it up.
That's true.
What am I doing about it? What are you doing about it? And with that, you're able to come to a consensus and agree together.
I agree.
Yeah, there's no one to blame. Like we said, stress affects everybody.
It does.
So it's not that one does get stressed and the other one doesn't. But those are the issues I call projections.
Yeah.
You project to the other person. And people project differently. When you're stressed up, you would project to somebody or to an object.
True.
If it is to a somebody, for example, is when you're arguing, you're blaming those two conflicts, and you're shifting the blame to the person.
Yeah.
If it is to the object, is where you see someone just banging a door. If you're washing the utensils, unazigonganisha huko, you're projecting your emotions to them.
Yeah.
So people are also unique, and that's why I usually say it's good to also know how you cope with your stress because your way can be different from another. Kuna mwingine ni fight. You've seen people fight even in marriage. It is expressing their emotions and their stress to the other person. Others does to the objects, and you just need to know your method so that you can be able to adjust and work on that.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And we will be looking at how to cope with stress and depression in our next part 2, that is. So for now, we take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more from Madam Mary. So see you shortly. God bless you so much for keeping it Prayer Cave TV. And this is Being One Show. My name is Ken Campbell, and we have our guest, Madam Mary Ngige. And she has been taking us through, the topic on stress and depression in marriage. And we are grateful that you're with us. Keep talking to us. We are waiting for your comment, and God bless you so much. Madam Mary, karibu sana tena.
Thank you.
Now we get into the signs, and how do you tell that a couple is in depression or stress?
Okay, for the signals or the signs that you can tell a couple or the married people that are depressed or someone is depressed could be many, because we also look at depression in different ways. There's depression that is brought up by, especially when mothers are getting the child. We call it postnatal. After you get a child, you can be depressed. I've seen mothers refusing to breastfeed their children because of there's like a depression that comes after that. And the depression can also be chronic, whereby maybe someone is psychotic, is mentally sick, and that is brought about by that. I also look at depression as hereditary. It is inherited. Actually, when you look at the family lineage, there is that what we call multi-generational pattern. There is this behavior that repeats itself. And one of these behaviors I've observed could be depression, where you see in a family, there's one who was depressed, coming to another generation and another. So that are things that I've been able to observe. And there's also the depression that is brought about by the life changes and the events of life that are quite strenuous, causing like loss of job, maybe grief, and so much of that. So the signals or the red flags that you can observe in someone who has got depression is when someone starts avoiding the people they were used to be with, or avoiding people used to love. And in this case now, the marriage, when you realize that you're avoiding this person, you're disinterested with this person who has been your friend, who has been your love, then that is a signal that you're probably depressed and you need to work on that. I've also seen people avoiding activities they used to do or love. And the other time we were talking about self-care and self-love, I had talked about how we need to know each other's interest and come to do together as a couple. So you realize now you're not now, or you no longer do what you used to do together. So that is a sign that probably the couple is depressed, or the individuals are depressed within the marriage, because you used to love, enjoy it together, but you no longer have it, if it's not other reasons like maybe being busy. Then I've also seen people having continuous mood and sadness. Of course, when there is depression, people are sad, or one gets sad and being in a moody. So you realize people are married, but they're always in moods. Hakuna una mtu anaongea mwingine anarudisha hivi. They're not agreeing, and like they're throwing words at each other. That is a flag that one or two would be depressed. A continuous kind of a mood or sadness. So when you see yourself, a week gets over, 2 weeks, you're still sad, you could be having some signs of depression. I say sometimes it's not easy to identify, but those are the red flags. I've also seen people starting to love nature out of nowhere. Okay, I say it's good to love nature, but ukijiona umeanza sasa to have moments that you need to be alone, you don't want people, you just want to have your nature by yourself, maybe that could also be a sign that you're depressed. Wakati wote unaona unaji-isolate, una-withdraw, you don't want to see people, you don't want to go to open place, social place, that could be a sign that you're depressed, and you need to work it out very fast. I've also seen people neglect and abandon their children if they are there in the marriage when you're depressed. You don't mind about your children, you don't care how they are, I've seen such parents who neglect their children and abandon them literally, and it is because they are depressed. And when we are talking about self-care, that's why I've been talking about this thing, because it's how they influence the couple or individual. we talked about how one needs to take care of themselves in order to take care of the other person. So when someone is depressed, they neglect the children or the people they should be taking care of. And not only the children, even their partner.
Yes.
You'll find you don't care about your partner. Amekula, ameva, you're not there. Uko tu juu, muko tu, and you need to be together anyway. So those are the things I see. And when people start to be suicidal,
Oh my.
when people start to be suicidal, you're thinking of how can there are people who even contemplate. Sometimes you find the couple becoming, maybe one or two becoming suicidal.
Yes.
And it has always been happening. You've seen people killing. You kill the family, you kill yourself. That was because of the depression.
Yeah.
And that's why we are talking about this today, because we don't want family and these marriages to head there. We started by saying it is about stress. Let's work fast with the stress before it gets us to depression. Because you have seen family dying, people killing each other.
Yes.
It is at a point where now it is at depression. It is beyond control, it is beyond measure. And the only thing and the solution you see is to kill one another. So that is the other red flags. And you can also check up with the breakups, those small breaks up. Unapata mme break tu, yani kama mme separate. And it can even magnify and get to even divorce.
Oh God.
Those two separations are red flags that maybe one or the both are depressed.
True.
And these are the things we need to work very fast so that we can be able to overcome them. Then when you see yourself feeling a lot of hopelessness, a lot of helpless, maybe pertaining this marriage, this family, you could be having an aspect of depression. So let us check on ourselves. And most of it all, I look at the way depression affects you. It's either emotionally, cognitively, the way you think, behave, and the behaviors. Because the way you feel, you're able to realize that you've been having repeated feelings that are negative. It's either you're angry, you're sad, you're guilt, you're hopeless, helpless, anxiety. All those are negative feelings. Then when it's about the way you think, you're cognitive, you're seeing impossibility, you're becoming suicidal, having those ideation of how you can kill yourself and move away and do stuff, Then behavior-wise is like now when you start to withdraw, you isolate yourself, you don't want to come out, you don't want to express yourself, you're always sad and moody. So it affects the whole aspect about us, and even spiritual life. We are a spiritual being. So you start to see yourself, you're withdrawing. You don't want to even maybe come to church, you don't want to fellowship with other people. So those are the signs that can even tell that you're spiritually depressed. By the way, people become spiritually depressed. I usually say it's only that we can't listen to people when they are praying. You listen to what they are praying. It tells you when someone is stressed, can be depressed. But I thank God because He gave us a platform, an opportunity to come and pour out to Him. We'll be giving those Bibles references on our topic. That God is always to receive, ready to receive us and allow us to vent out to Him. So we could also be spiritually depressed, and we really need to work it out very fast. You may think you're okay, but you could be having issues of depression. So those are the red flags I see. Maybe you used to pray together, you no longer find time to. Used to go fellowship together, there's no time for that. So those are the signs that tells you probably people are overwhelmed and they're stressed and depressed. But let us not allow it to get to the level that it is becoming hard to control. Let us always work it out as early as fast so that we are able now to overcome together. Otherwise, we are the one who allow ourselves to get to the pit. And we can allow ourselves to just walk over it and overcome together.
Wow. It's unimaginable to hear that these things can, accelerate or even get to the next level to a point of even killing yourself and even others who are around you. So it has to be managed early. So that it can be able to not to go to that level.
And I have seen people who kill themselves. Actually, let me tell you, there are people who have died and it was just depression. There's also one thing I wanted to mention. You see, even those people who get sick and maybe they are hospitalized, it started with stress. if you were to sit down and listen to the journey for that person, it started with stress, it can get depression, and they get sick. And majority, actually, when I go for counseling in hospital, it's about depression.
Oh, okay.
And also grief. We talked about
Yes,
grief.
we did.
They are grieving their health, and so they're even depressed. So what I say is that let us always try to work it out very fast, because one thing takes you to another.
Yeah.
You get stressed, you get depressed, you get sick, and by the time you're realizing, so many people have been buried, and the cause was stress, depression that would have been worked upon or avoided. But again, we see people getting sick, and we think it's just sickness, but it's about stress. Listen to people, and you'll know the sickness and the illness they are suffering, and even those chronic illnesses is about stress. Ilianza stress, prolonged stress, strain, depression, getting sick, and even dying and getting buried. So we should not allow ourselves and our friends and our dear ones get to die because of depression for something they can be able to work it out. So if you're stressed, always run fast to work it out before you get to a situation that becomes hard for you to get out.
That is true. Now that we have known that, and those signals and signs, so how do they affect, does depression affect the couple, and also to the extent of getting to children? Yes.
So for the marriage I have observed who are suffering depression or so much of stress, has been much more of the children getting affected.
Yes.
When a marriage has got one or the two who are depressed, the children suffer.
Yes.
They are the one who get more of the effect when it comes to that.
Yes.
And we even can cause depression to the children. That is the worst thing. Yeah, and that's why I'm asking us to always work very fast. Our issues, stressors, we work and look at them so that it doesn't get to the children. So much of even what I was saying, children are neglected, abandoned, and even some of us also experience that in our upbringing. And by the time you realize the child is suffering trauma, the child is suffering a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression that emanated from the marriage. So that is the big effect I have seen. Children suffer stress and depression out of the marriage or the couple. So that is a challenge to us.
Wow.
Like I said, I almost suffered depression, and I didn't allow it to get to the children. And I was working with the children for child therapy so that they could be able to see a therapist who could help them work out their stress. So tukumbuke watoto in our stresses and depressions.
True.
The other thing I see is stagnation in the marriage.
Okay.
When people get stressed and so much of depression, we get stagnated. And that's why I say stress is positivity, because it makes us to grow.
True.
So when you're stuck at depression and you're so much depressed, there's stagnation. You're just back and forth. Not moving, not growing. You're just there. And it can take even for a couple of years. So let us not allow ourselves to be stagnated because of the things we can be able to work it out as individual or even as couples. And that's why we do marriage and family counseling to help work out those issues. Other things I say, of course, there are very many. It's the loss of intimacy. A marriage has got intimacy. When there is no love and you're not getting intimately connected, then that is another impact for the depression. I've seen people with the depression, they don't want to be intimate. They don't want to do with anything that has to do with sex. They don't want to come together and connect emotionally. So they tend to withdraw, and because of that withdrawal, it affects the intimacy. And you see, intimacy is very key in a marriage, because intimacy makes the marriage become connected. We are able to connect through intimacy. So one of the things I check is that, how intimate are you with your partner? Then I'm able to tell some signs of depression. And something I also needed to say, and I need to mention maybe at this point, when it comes to depression, we can also administer a test.
Okay.
You could be thinking you're having normal stress, but you're already at depression. So when you come maybe for counseling, we also administer a test that can tell us that whether your depression is mild, it's moderate, or it's severe. And if it gets at severity, then I'll need to refer you to a psychiatrist, because counselors, we don't treat, psychiatrists are the one who treat. So you may be thinking it's normal stress, and you're already at depression. So if you detect those red flags that I'm giving, run for help, so that you can be able to save your life and also your marriage for the sake of your children, and we don't need to lose it because of depression and stress.
That's true.
The other things I say is that they affect the normal issues of the marriage, communication. When you're stressed, we lose communication and you don't connect even emotionally, and suffering those negative emotions I have mentioned. We are no longer happy, we are moody, we are tired at each other, we are thinking negatively about like what you're telling me. When you're thinking this is the person who is the cause of my stress, that's an impact on someone who is depressed already. That's why I'm saying people get depressed without knowing, and you're thinking it is stress. Then you need to come and work it out so that you don't get so much stuck in it, because I have seen people struggle to get out of depression. You'd rather work out a stress than depression, because we say depression is now you're mentally sick. You're not able to control how you're thinking, you're not able to control yourself, you're seeing the end of everything, you're seeing impossibility, you don't see this marriage work, you don't see where you're getting at with this person, and even you lose hope even in God. So I have seen people struggle, and we need now to come up. Let us work it out, because this is what we need to do as ourselves, because probably we are the one who have taken ourselves there. We need to come back.
That's true.
So there are quite many, we cannot be able to exhaust them. And one thing I may not leave is about the drug and substance use. That's an impact I've also seen. People who are depressed, and you see the individuals within the marriage indulging into substance abuse, and that can also mean infidelity issues. Marriage suffer a lot of issues to do with infidelity, and it is because of depression. So like I said, people deal with depression differently because we are unique. So there's this one who will start substance abuse, starting drugs. There's this one who will start infidelity issues and other behavior issues that are not good. And it is because it's acting like a coping mechanism, but the real thing is that you're depressed. But you see it like a cover-up. So those infidelity issues where someone are not trusting each other, they are going out of marriage, substance abuse, and other funny behaviors that are, because nowadays I'm also dealing with issues of sexuality a lot in the marriage. I think we'll be talking about sexuality in marriage next time.
We will.
Because that is an important area that people don't address, and it is one of the things that is causing depression.
That's true.
I have seen a couple where one partner is indulging to a behavior that the other partner never knew for a prolonged time. So by the time the other person is knowing, it's even bringing breakups and separation, like masturbation, someone is in porn, and you have never known about this. I think these are the things we should be talking about. Sexuality issues in the marriage that makes people to be depressed. And you see sex issues, people don't talk it out. You keep it. And by the time you realize you're already depressed about it, it's the high chance that we need to come out and talk about those things. Tusizieke uko, utaeka, but you're starting to get sick from inside. By the time we realize it's beyond measure and control. There's a lot of the effects of depression, especially within the marriage, that can take us to another big topic, talking about sexuality in the marriage, maybe later.
Of course. Let me ask, what of gender-based violence? Can it be a cause, of someone or a spouse who is depressed?
Gender-based violence, like maybe
there's fights in the marriage, and at some point you also seen a parent shouting at the kids and such things.
I think I'm a victim of that. The other time I had said that I came from a family where my dad was an alcoholic, and where I said even depression can be multi-generational. Where one was a parent takes, goes to a child like that, like the things we pray, repeat in the family. So one can be like that, where there's domestic violence, and probably it's because this person is depressed. But those are the things people don't know. Pattern can repeat, and it is because of that aspect of depression. So it is likely to bring that domestic violence, and who are suffering? The children. Because I'm a victim of that. And that's why I'm talking this from a perspective of what I've also gone through. Suffering depression from parents. They were not able to handle their stress and their depression that affected even the children.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, the we have seen what causes depression, what causes stress, and all that. Now, how do we overcome? Or how do we cope all this, depression and stress?
One of it is what we've ever talked with you, maybe in this show, about the self-care, self-love. Remember?
Yes.
Reminding that there is you who need to live.
Yes.
So ukirealize stress imekukalia, it's the time you need to remember there is you who need to take care, to be taken care of.
True.
And even have breaks in between. Go treat yourself, feel nice. Like everything you do to make yourself feel good. Tukumbuke self-care. Because we forget ourselves in the process of many stress, and by the time we realize we are losing ourselves. So self-care is one way we can be able to do to overcome depression. And then there is the change of lifestyle. Our lifestyle are contributors to depressions. And when I talk about lifestyle, I'm talking about diet. Okay. There's one who says that you're what you eat.
True.
So watch what you eat, because it can also contribute to that. If you're likely to take a food that are not helpful in your body, you may suffer, because also depression can be brought about by the biological aspects.
Okay.
So insufficient of what you need to be taking can lead to the body not functioning well, because it's about the brain.
Yes.
So and the brain is what it requires to be able to process itself.
Yes.
So let us watch what we eat, because that could be a cause of depression. And also about the lifestyle is about issues to do with sleep. How much do you sleep? Do you get time to sleep? Or you sleep less hours? How many hours should we sleep? The normal hours for sleeping that we can say should be 6 to 8.
Yes.
Around 6 to 8.
Yes.
Yeah. Most people talk about 8. You have 8 hours of sleep. For me, you're good. Wow. But if you find yourself, you're denying yourself that is a very important aspect of us, that we need to find time.
Yes.
Sometimes that achukua off for sleep.
Yeah.
If you are so much tired in the tight schedules, that is very, very important. A pile up of sleep will cause you to be depressed, whether you like it or not. Wow. There's that emotional backlog and burnout that brings depression. True. The other thing is that you need to observe exercise. Exercise watu wetu, tufanyeni tu exercise. We find time for that. Hii kukula na tunakaa tu hatufanyi exercise, it's another thing.
True.
Yeah, do a jogging. And for those who are in the office, the other day we were taught on how to do the stretch ups.
Oh yeah.
Just stand. The other day you could see me, I wake up, I stretch, I do my stuff at my desk. Yes. And it is refreshing. True. Because sometimes the nature of our job ties us so much, and you're not able to. If you can have a walk, well and good. Yes. If you can do jogging, and it is also part of self-care. Yes. What you do to yourself that make you have a relief and you feel good about it. Wonderful. The other thing on how to cope with depression is journaling. There are people who are not good at talking. Yes. Do journals. True. Write down. Write down how you're feeling. Someone stressed you up, write it down. And that way, you're able to now express your emotions out if you're not able to talk it out. Yes. That is another thing I see work. Wow. There are those who are good at praying. Praying and meditation. Yeah. If you have those moments where you go and pray, by the way, when you pray and pray seriously, this is how you feel relieved, and relaxed. True. So if you're that person, because we are also different, pray. You're stressed, you're depressed, find time to pray. Take it to the Lord. Take it to the Lord. And He's always ready to receive. He's the greatest counselor, mind you. Take it to Him and He'll be able to help you, because halfway shared is halfway solved. True. Yeah. True. Then the other thing I also see is you need to do the talk therapy. I call it catharsis, but I've given an option of those who are not able to share. There's what we say about the most important person. Mutafute. Tafuta huyo unaweza ongea na yeye anything. Bring it all on the table. Look for that person, because I usually say there's this one person that you can always confide with and share anything, And that is the person I say you need to draw closer to in your life, so that you can be, even those who are married, this person who you confide with, go to that person. That is what I call catharsis. Talk therapy. Talking is therapy. By yourself. You don't need a counselor. Go talk it. Yeah. The other thing is to seek support. That's why we are here. We are professionals in counseling, so that you can visit us, you can reach out to us. we help you solve these issues. Because I usually say when I make awareness, right now we are teaching people about this thing. So when I make awareness, it helps you to deal with the situation at the table. And you're able to scrutinize and see how you can maneuver around it. So reach out, we are here. Na tuko wengi. So reach out to counselors who are there and who can help you. And also the other thing I also wanted to say that is very important, Ken.
Yes.
Rest. Rest. And sometimes if it doesn't work, force rest. Because we don't rest.
Yes.
And we don't have those breaks. We are pushing ourselves to getting depressed.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So kwanza mimi nikisikia nimeanza kukua na emotional burnout, I will rest. And I say rest in capital letters.
Yes.
Rest.
I agree.
Yeah. Rest. Let us rest.
I agree.
I think that is the best way to even cope with stress and depression.
Rest.
Take a rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the doctor was right.
Yes.
And he told me go rest.
Yes, because he know. Your mind needs to umepeleka mind yako beyond, you know, and you see the body communicates.
Yes.
The mind will not tell you I'm tired. The body is the one that responds. So you start having back pains, joint pains, headaches, stomachache, and you got to take medicines where you should be relaxing your mind. You see why I say we don't need to be going to the hospital.
Yeah.
We just need to relax our mind and you not get sick. Lakini tunajipeleka kwa kona, we stretch ourselves and we'll go to the hospital. For me, hospital, no.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, because of time, we're going to go kidogo on quotes and biblical references so that we tupatie watu another way of coping. Even through scriptures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the quote I want to give, I have 3, is that there is hope even when your brain tells you otherwise.
There is hope.
So umefika at depression and you think it's the end, there is still hope.
Hope is there.
Yeah, the end of something is a beginning of a.
Wow.
So wakati umefika mwisho, just know even when your mind tells you this is beyond, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Just know that there is an opportunity for changing, there is hope.
Yes.
And you should encourage yourself. That's one thing I can say. Then I can also say it is about how we think. We can cause it and we can overcome it. So you see, we are the one who sabotage ourselves. You get stressed because you have decided to be stressed. Actually, I usually say that. It is you who have decided. And you can decide no. So you will decide to be stressed and you will be stressed.
Yes.
So it's about how you think and how you look at it.
Wow.
So tusijiallow, if we can allow ourselves not, let us not allow ourselves be stressed and be depressed.
Wow.
And the last one is that it is normal and okay to feel stressed and depressed. So it's not like you have lost faith.
No.
It's not like you have a weakness. It is okay and normal to feel stressed, you know. And it is why I say it's positivity, because it makes you to do something. So it is very normal. It is okay to feel stressed and depressed. And by the way, even when you look at the Bible, that reminds me about some figures in the Bible. Like who? Job went through stress and depression. There was David.
Yes.
Who else? There was this guy we called Samson, Pia, and even Jesus went stress and depression.
A lot.
At a point even where he said, God, now this is beyond me.
Yes.
So if those people experience stress, who are we? So what we need to do is just to know that we can be able to overcome. Let us not see the end of it. It is actually a beginning of something.
Yes.
As much as you look at it positively. So let us observe our mindset and the way we think, and we can be able to overcome. And again, we can make ourselves get stuck. It's about the way we think.
It is what we allow.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Wow. Madam, you give us some few scriptures so that we can, go and study more, especially on those scriptures.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can go and read these scriptures that helps us to cope with stress and depression.
Yes.
In the book of Isaiah 41:10, the Bible says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness."
Wow. Beautiful.
So Mungu wako. It's us who are not calling out.
True.
So call it out. Reach out to God. Yes. He's there and he's so faithful and ready to help you work out your stress and your depression.
Yes.
The other one that I love so much is Matthew 11:28 that says that come to me all who labor and are heavily laden,
Yes.
and I will give you rest.
Rest.
Unasikia ile rest?
Rest iko.
Yeah, so we are finding rest in God.
Yes.
Whatever you're carrying. And I usually say it is you who have decided to carry it, and you can decide to put it down. Remember when I said I was almost getting depressed because of the children?
Yes.
And when I told God, ndio hii nimeweka chini, that was the start of me healing.
Yes.
So let us not allow ourselves carry so much. God is there, and He's waiting for us to put it down so that He take it up for us.
Yes.
Yeah, so don't choose to carry it. Give it to God, and He will help you. And the last one is Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make you walk paths right. He will make your path right.
True.
And in this case, because you're talking about marriage, He will make your marriage straight. Yeah, so bring it all to God, and He knows how to work our stress. He knows that we get stressed up and we get depressed to a point we feel like we're giving up. He knows all that. But let us allow God, because He will make our path straight. He will make our marriage. He will make our family, and you're going to enjoy life. Wacha kukaa hivi, changamka. Deal with the stress and keep going, because there is hope.
That is true.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I don't even want to add anything, because you have really touched on everything concerning stress and depression. One thing we can request our viewers is that they can ask any question on the comments.
Yeah.
And we will bring it to Madam Mary, and we can see how we can talk about that in our next episode. Or even if you would want to, talk to her, or even get help from her, you can share your contact or where we can find you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had said that I have a YouTube called Subra Wellness. You can get me on Mary Wanjiro. If it is on Facebook, it's Mary Wanjiro. And my number is 0715 235 388. 0715 235 388. If you would want telecounseling, you can get me at Huduma. We are saying we are doing telecounseling, counseling on call.
Yes.
You can just call direct 1919 and we'll be there to help you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody doesn't need to come there.
You don't need to come physical. Just call 1919 and we'll be at the desk to serve you.
Wow.
And we are really waiting to do that. And it is free. This is about government.
Yes.
And considering wananchi.
True.
For the counseling services for free.
Wow.
And we are there.
Wow.
And counseling is very expensive.
It is.
So reach out on those calls, and even as on a personal level with my personal number.
Yes.
And I'll be able to help you.
Wow.
And we are many.
That is true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
And thank you even for pouring out all that knowledge, of which, by the way, I know she teaches counseling.
Yeah.
So you can also talk to her concerning how you can join in one of her classes.
Yeah.
And so God bless you so much, our viewer, for joining us. Marriage will work. Definitely it will work.
It has to.
It has to. But we have also to work on ourselves. Those kind of stresses, we shouldn't allow them to go to the level of even becoming depression. And so we have been given the way to overcome them, and we shall overcome them in Jesus' name. So thank you so much, and until next time, please keep talking to us. Na utabarikiwa sana. My name is Ken Campbell. God bless you. See you then.